Tom Downey of Chat Sports here, answering all of your questions as part of our live NFL Daily Mailbag. Whatever questions you have, we answer them on the show, beginning with a super chat from Kyle Donovan. What are your thoughts on the Earl Thomas situation? I love your content. Give it the good work. Thank you, Kyle. Those of you that don't know, arrest warrant out for Earl Thomas after he had threatened his, I believe it ended up being his wife and his kids, by the way, which is really bad. You, of course, have the legal process play out, etc., but the texts are pretty damning based on what's been reported through police and media and whatnot. So probably shouldn't play football again. I think should either be in jail or needs severe psychiatric help. Like, unfortunately, Earl Thomas, just from his actions that we know publicly, seems to have deteriorated over the past couple years. That's horrible. From an NFL perspective, don't want him on my team. Nowhere near my organization because that shit's just not okay. Pretty straightforward for me. Nate Rosario, trade Dak Prescott for Jimmy Garoppolo. Yeah, why would the Cowboys eat all the dead money and trade for a mediocre QB? I know Nate's trolling, so I appreciate that, my friend. Brandon Kinder, is it fair to say Matthew Stafford is a top 4 QB? If we are trying to take what we are expecting this year out of quarterbacks, it's a little tough to go down that route. I think you're going to have to take Josh Allen over Matthew Stafford. I think you got to take Patrick Mahomes, maybe Russell Wilson. I think Stafford, because he's coming off the Super Bowl, really helps his stock quite a bit there. I think you still got to take Brady, by the way, Rodgers as well. So now we're outside of the top 4. I think you then start to include, he's probably in the tier of, I'm not going to anoint Herbert yet. He's in that tier. I think you're including guys like a Joe Burrow. Maybe a Wilson, I think, is probably more in that tier. Lamar Jackson, if he's not hurt and injured the entire season. I think he's one of those QBs you feel really great about as your franchise guy, even as he does begin to age, but not quite top 4 for me. From Carmen San Diego, we know what San Diego is Spanish for. Would you make DK the highest paid NFL receiver? Highest paid is a little tricky to deal with there as it relates to DK. Can I get him for $25.1 million? Can I say, hey, Hill and Adams and Hopkins are all a bit more proven than those guys, so would you be willing to get going on that standpoint as it relates to a little bit more than A.J. Brown, and we pay you as the next highest young receiver? That might work, I think, for both sides, I would hope. If he wants 30, probably try hard not to do it, maybe even wait a year and then pay him, because I don't think the market's going to change that much from now until the next few years. So what should Seattle do with DK Metcalf? Type in P for pay, T for trade, or type in W for wait. I'm going to make this question the pinned comment on today's mailbag. So if the ad break comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know what you think the Seahawks should do with DK. Michael, I turned 21 this summer. What is your go-to summer relaxing beer? Corona with a lime is always absolutely fire as far as I am concerned. There was a light beer I had. What was it? Not that. Shiner makes a really nice, it's called their Weiss and Easy beer. Here in Texas, of course, it gets super freaking hot. I love that beer as well. But Corona and Shiner Weiss and Easy are two of my go-to ones there. From Cujo, what available right tackle would be a good fit for the Chargers? So Darrell Williams can play right tackle. The Bobby Massey, Riley Reith can do it as well. The other big names in Dwayne Brown and Eric Fisher and Jason Peters, they play left tackle. So maybe a Brandon Shell. I don't love those options, but I don't want to see Storm Norton play anymore at right tackle, so I would strongly look at one of those older veterans and just see what ends up happening. From Bam Troll, could the Vikings finish top 5 in the NFC? I think they absolutely could. Let's assume that Packers will just go with the defending champs, and Bucks and Rams and Cowboys win the NFC. That's then you're competing against the Eagles, Bears, the Lions, the Saints, Falcons, Panthers. The NFC West is going to be your main competition there, I would argue. Plus, I think Philadelphia is going to be pretty good this year. In the Niners and the Cardinals, and probably not the Seahawks. In the AFC, not a chance. In the NFC, they actually do have a shot at getting a top 5 spot and making a playoff game this year. Remember, they had one of the better point differentials. They lost a bunch of close games that hurt them. They had a better point differential than, well, actually about what you would expect for a 8-9 team. But there were a lot of close losses that they could win more of next year. Now, if you want the best NFL coverage on YouTube, then subscribe. YouTube.com/chatsportstv. Let's get to 3,000 subscribers as soon as possible so we can put that little notch on our belt. Plus, you guys get free NFL videos once you subscribe for free. Rashard Lee, who has drawn the ire of producer Jack for spamming, apparently. Jimmy G traded the Dolphins. I don't really get why they would do that. They have Tua, who is their young guy that they could hope is their franchise QB. They also signed Teddy Bridgewater. Is Jimmy G better than Bridgewater? Yeah, probably. But I also would think that they committed to him, so why would they trade assets and pay big money for a backup because they're not going over Tua? So I don't see why Miami would end up doing that. DeJon Bell, what is Jahan Dotson's player comparison? Let me see if I have one in my draft notes there. I think NFL.com's Emmanuel Sanders comp was pretty good. I don't know if he's ever going to be a true number one guy. I do have concern about him against press coverage, but he does win outside of his frame really well. I thought it was a little bit early where the Commanders took him, but I do believe he's going to be a good starter in the NFL. So I like the Emmanuel Sanders comp from a play style and maybe upside peak level perspective as well. From Tommy Tom, are the Giants going to trade Slayton or Tony? Maybe. I look at this Giants depth chart and I go, okay, you restructured Sterling Shepard, you kept Kenny Golladay, you now have Kadarius Toney, Darius Slayton, and you drafted Wan'Dale Robinson, and by the way, you have guys who played roles in recent years in C.J. Board and Colin Johnson and Richie James, and the numbers game doesn't quite add up to me for the Giants, especially if you want to have some special teams help at receiver 5 or 6, and you spend a certain pick on Robinson, you want to play him, you're just going to pay Slayton to do not a lot as a pure vertical threat. So I do think it makes sense for probably Slayton more so than Kadarius Toney as a trade target. Now, there are several teams who need wide receiver help. That is the Chicago Bears, I would argue, are in pretty dire straits from that standpoint there. I would not rule out the Browns looking for more receiver help. The Colts, if you want a lesser big body, maybe a shiftier slot guy since Paris Campbell simply cannot stay healthy. The Falcons are still in desperate need of getting another receiver. I don't think they've done enough at that spot quite yet. The Packers, you're going to bank on Sammy Watkins? Because I ain't. Slayton would actually be a good fit for their play style. They're the Ravens, traded away Marquise Brown. They could use one. The Saints, never rule them out. In Tennessee, no disrespect meant towards Nick Westbrook-Akina, but I would get a new number 3. So of the two Giants wide receivers, who would you rather trade for? Kadarius Toney, who has some off-the-field effort issues apparently, or the less productive at times vertical threat Darius Slayton, but Toney starting with the ball in his hands, a better player, but value, cost, etc. Pick one. DS for Darius Slayton or KT for Kadarius Toney. From Isaac Green, you think Ridder is the future of the Falcons? Maybe. I think he's fairly close to being ready to play football games in the NFL, a lot closer than I think Malik Willis is. So I would like to see him play this year. If he shows some flashes, cool. My concern, though, Falcons are bad. They're drafting top 2, and then you almost got to take Shredder Young if they play like they did last year, and then Ridder's kind of stuck in an unfortunate spot relative to his own career. From Jeff Rogers, if you had one drive to win a game, Josh Allen or Mahomes? I mean, yes, to answer your question, I think I'll go Mahomes since I've seen him win a title already. James Heiner, which second-year QB do you think will have a jump in year 2? Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson or Justin Fields. Now, Bears fans are going to get pissy with me here. I don't think they've done enough to help Fields. The offensive line is still not great. The receiving core it's mid, to be honest. I don't like it all that much. It's average at best. Zach Wilson, the Jets have invested in and given a lot of talent to. I think Lawrence is going to take the biggest jump in year 2, though I'd probably rank them jump-wise in that order. That does not mean I'm out on Fields. I think it might be more of a year 3 breakout for him. Augustus Sam, interesting spelling there. Better edge to target, Justin Houston or Melvin Ingram. So, funnily enough, the Ravens and Chiefs both put the rarely used, free agent tender on these two where they still qualify for comp picks. Otherwise, if no one signs them, they're going to basically have to re-sign at a slightly higher rate than what they made last year. So they could just go back with their teams, right? Houston made a bigger impact overall last year. I do think down the stretch, postseason-wise especially, I think Melvin Ingram really stepped up with the way he played down the stretch for the Chiefs. Now, other teams beyond KC and, of course, Baltimore just keeping Justin Houston. The Browns, they've been linked to, of course, just keeping Jadeveon Clowney pretty heavily. I think Arizona could still do with another edge. The Dolphins have shown interest in more help. They brought in Carlos Olympic-Mix. They could make sense for both of those players. And I think the Rams could be a nice little fun veteran fit given where they are at with their organizations. But it's a very real chance they just go back, Houston to the Ravens and Ingram to the Chiefs. If you had your choice, though, of these two players, who would you rather keep? Type in JH for Justin Houston or type in MI for Melvin Ingram. Let me know in the comments section right now. From Kevin Sykes, do you think the Bears' new regime is behind Justin Fields 100%? I hope so. Having a top 10 pick-ish on your roster at QB, you should be all the way behind him. It felt like they know they're going to be rebuilding this year, and that's why they didn't go full in on that standpoint. But they should be. I think he's going to be a great quarterback. But you got to develop him, and that last regime failed. I think it's been a great start so far for this one, but there's still time. From Dan Viv. Who's the Titans get to replace A.J. Brown? Name a receiver. I would look for an outside guy. You've got Robert Woods. I think Treylon Burks, year 1, probably good to play him in the slot. I would like some speed and vertical threat ability. So how about Will Fuller? Now, he's always hurt, so that's fair, but you need some speed on the outside for that organization. I think Fuller could be a good fit for what they're lacking overall. If you haven't already, folks, please make sure you subscribe to us here at Chat Sports. We do our live shows on Mondays and Wednesdays for NFL Daily, answering all of your questions live. So if you want to be a part of those mailbags, hit that big red button and sub right now.